Stu, how are you?
I can't complain. Can't
No, you
complain at
can.
all.
You totally can.
Listen, I'm sure I could. But let me ask you this. Are you ready to get started?
Absolutely.
All right, awesome. So I think the very first thing important for us to do is to get to know you a little bit better, get to know where you're coming from in regards to your studies and how those are going for you and what you're hoping to get out of today. So that's where I always love to start, because I think that's the most important thing, aside from everything, just making sure that we're both on the same page as far as what you're hoping to get out of today. And also, like I said, what's been going good, bad, indifferent, that kind of stuff.
Got it. Well, I take my test in 2 weeks from yesterday.
Awesome.
I'm in California. I've been studying for several months, mostly with Prep Agent, and it's been going great. I feel pretty good. I just wanted to kind of go over as much as we could in whatever format you felt was most valuable to, kind of study right before the exam. So I obviously still have time.
Yeah.
So if there's stuff I'm a little need some more work with, I'm cool. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome. So Gatling gun, see what you know, see what you don't know.
There we go.
So, yeah, we could definitely do that. And what I feel is the best format, the way that I like to do it is this. I like to do a master exam, and what I like to do is, and the reason why I do a master exam is because since we don't have really a destination, it kind of gives us a little bit of a roadmap of some sort,
Sure.
just so that we could have conversations off of those. And basically how it's going to go is this. You're going to see a question pop up on my screen. We'll go through it. And I want to know also what you're thinking between, like, if you're like, hey, I'm struggling between this answer and that answer, let's see, where your thought process is, because you might have a really good way of approaching the question. You might have a way that I might be like, I don't know if I would do that. So we could tweak that. And also it'll give us a chance to say, hey, what do you know about this concept, and see where you are. So
got it.
That being said, let's jump right into it.
Got it. A bill of sale is used to transfer the ownership of what? Real property, fixtures, appurtenances, or personal property? And the answer is personal property.
So what's a fixture?
A fixture is anything that was once personal property and is now attached to real property.
Yeah, so basically it's personal property that's been converted to real property. What are the legal tests for a fixture?
The acronym is MARIA, and that's method of attachment, adaptability, relationship of parties, right? Intention. Oh, wait, no. Method, adaptability.
You're right. So I think what tripped you up is a relationship of the item to the parties. So
right.
And here's the thing that's key, because I'm actually going to ask you another question after that. So keep going. So relationship of the item to the parties.
Intention.
Then
Intention of the parties. And what's the last one? Is that adaptability?
No, we already said that. The last one's agreement. So watch
agreement.
this. Like, let's say, let's say I'm dealing with, I actually had this come up maybe like 2 or 3 months ago, where I was showing a property and buyers really liked the painting that was in the house. They were like, oh my God, I love that painting. It was like of a flamingo. They were like, we have to buy this house and we have to buy the painting. And I'm like, all right, it's an ugly painting, but yeah. So this was something that was never a fixture, but what happened was the agreement between the buyer and the seller made it, created it to be a fixture. So created a situation where it was a fixture, this flamingo painting. Now, question to ask you. Is a family heirloom rose bush considered personal property or real property? It's been planted in the ground to make it easier.
That's real property.
I would consider it personal.
Okay.
Because it has a unique relationship to the parties attaching it.
Huh. Okay, great.
Because and that's the whole kicker there. And here's the thing, you're probably gonna get on California test, you're probably gonna get the heirloom rose bush question.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happens is this, rose bushes, if we just said a rose bush, we would say real property. No unique, it passes all the legal tests of a fixture, right? It's planted in the ground, it is part of the landscape, no unique relationship to the parties, no unique intention of the parties, and there's no further agreement based on just that information. So what happens is you have to understand that in order for it to become a fixture, which is to become part of the real property, it has to pass all of the legal tests. So if it doesn't pass the muster on one of them, like unique relationship with the item to the parties, and the intentions of the parties, because here's the thing, if the intentions of the parties was never to leave it with the property, that's another reason why it would be considered, whatchamacallit, a piece of personal property. But this answer was 100% correct. So let's keep going.
A family rents a vacation home from July 5th, 2020 to January 31st, 2021. Their tenancy would properly be classified as month to month, a fee simple estate, an estate for years, and periodic tenancy. The answer is estate for years.
Yeah. And I also just want to point out one thing. I love the pace at which the cadence at which you're reading the questions, because I think that that's going to really help you. Great. Yeah, I just want you to, I want you to know that, because sometimes people are like, oh, I'm not really sure if I'm reading at the right pace or whatnot. No, I'm hearing it. I love it, and need to point that out. Just don't change that. Okay.
Solid. We're good.
The tendency of people is that the more questions they start to get right, the more they start to kind of go, okay, like they speed up a little bit. They have a little bit of, a jump in their, a pep in their step. And that causes there to be more issues than not. So that's why I'd say, just focus on keeping the same cadence and the same steps that you have right now, because again, I really like it. So that's what I just wanted to point out for you. So without further ado, let's look at the next one.
All right. Which approach to value would be given most consideration in an appraisal of a restaurant? Market data, income, cost, or summation? So it wouldn't be market data, income, or cost. We're going to go with income.
So when would we use the cost approach to, because that's correct, that's the correct answer. When would we use the cost approach?
If we're going to be replacing what it would cost to replace the structure and the utility of that building.
Yeah, so basically usually what happens is the reason why we would use that one, usually when there's a situation where you have like a special use building, like a police station, things like that, fire station, those are times that you would have you would be using the what was I going to say, the cost approach. And market data, when are we going to use that one?
For home sales, so to compare prices.
So basically, yeah, we're going to be using that when we're doing residential sales, right? When we're doing residential homes. So 100%. Next one.
The rights of the owner of property located along the banks of a river are called hereditament, littoral rights, riparian rights, or prior appropriation rights. The answer is riparian rights.
Got it. What about those littoral rights? What are littoral rights?
That would be for lakes or oceans.
Yeah, any of our title properties. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Okay. Next one.
All of the following are essential to the creation of an agency relationship except fiduciary relationship, agreement to pay consideration, competent parties, and agreement between principal and agent. So the answer here will be agency except agreement to pay consideration.
Agreement to pay consideration. Let's see. Yeah. Are essential to the creation of agency, because what happens is this: you could actually have an agency relationship without compensation. Like I had a client, they bought and sold 7 homes with me. They wanted to list the home. Guess what? I did it at zero commission. You know, I was like, okay, this one's on the house, you know?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, but we still had an agency relationship. So 100%. Let's keep going. Now let me actually ask you this. What are the fiduciary responsibilities of an agent to a client?
Loyalty.
Yeah.
Are there more? I mean, I know there are more, but for some reason that one's
so here's what I use. I use the acronym ACOLD. Because I say that when I have a fiduciary relationship with someone, I'm close enough to them that I could catch a cold. And that would be accounting, care, obedience, loyalty, and disclosure. So those are what you owe to any of your clients, okay? And then what do we owe customers?
I mean, obviously fair and honest dealing.
Yeah, that's stop right there. Fair and honest dealing. Done. Yeah, you don't. And sometimes what happens is this. Look, you have a good definition in your head. Keep it simple and concise. Sometimes 1 to 2 sentences. That's it. You don't need much more. Okay. So don't start looking for more than what you have, because sometimes you don't need it. You just don't simply need it. Okay.
Got it. I have one question.
Next one. Yeah, talk to me.
If there was a question, and you can stop me if this is not even a question, but if they said, what's the number one aspect to a client relationship, would it be loyalty, or is that not stand above others?
It would be true. It would be. They wouldn't ask a question like that, but what happens is the reason why is because it would be hard to separate and say that one lies more than another. However, what I would say to you is this: they do like to use the word trust. So it's a position of, so the agent is said to be in a position of trust and confidentiality. Sometimes some authors of questions like to focus in on that. But again, I don't think that they would separate out any of the wording. And here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you something that I tell all of my students. Understand that the question's usually written in a very black and white manner. And what I mean by that is this. If you get a question, I'm going to tell you the difference between a good question and a bad question. A good question is if you were in a classroom setting and you brought the test up to the teacher and said, "Hi, I don't understand number 4." And they looked at it and said, "Well, reread it. The explanation's there. Just read it a couple of times." And everything is self-containing in there. The teacher doesn't need to add anything. Now, a bad question, if they brought the test up to the teacher and said, "Hey, I don't understand this." And the teacher reads it and they're like, "Yeah, I could see how you could be confused. Let me explain it to you." And that is an example of a bad question. So
Right.
every question is going to be given to you in a manner that is straightforward. It's all there. It's self-containing. There's not much else that you need to add, if anything. It would be pretty much straightforward. Like, there's a lot of times where someone will see in a question, like I've written questions that say an exclusive listing. And the student goes, well, is it an exclusive agency or an exclusive right to sell? And then my retort to them is, do you need that information, right? Like,
Right.
is that information that you need to solve the problem? So understand that the problem is going to probably be served up to you in a manner that is more straightforward than you probably even think it is. So
Got it.
let's look at this one.
An easement is an encumbrance, but not a lien. Both the lien and an encumbrance, an estate in land, or a lien. So an easement is an encumbrance, but it is not a lien. I guess, would be.
Yeah, 100%. So an easement, let me ask you this. How does an easement differ from a license?
A license is given to someone.
I could give someone an easement on my property too. We could just create an easement appurtenant.
Oh, let's see, more specifically, an easement has a dominant or a servient tenant.
So let me kind of help you out. And here's the thing. I'm going to tell you this. I'm just so you know, I'm giving you difficult things to answer. So
yeah, of course.
Don't sit there and because you're actually really, you have a very tight definition of everything. And the reason I asked you the difference between a license and an easement is because this is something that they do like to use on the test. So the difference between a license and an easement is that a license is revocable. Okay, it's the right to use someone's property, but it doesn't run with the land. So what happens is this. It's like my neighbor coming across the street to me and saying, hey, can I put my snowblower in your garage? And I say, thumbs up, put your snowblower in my garage. That's something that I could tell him the next day, hey, my wife saw the snowblower. She's not too happy about that. Can you take that off? He'd be like, yeah, okay, yeah, totally cool. Or an easement, they don't have the right to do that. Once it's created and established, it's not revocable. So
beautiful.
Let's keep going.
Love it. All of the following would be considered to be fixtures except wall ovens and a farm sink, a refrigerator that has been installed into the cupboards, a microwave which is plugged into the wall, or rose bushes, and grapevines. We are going to go with a microwave which has been plugged into the wall, not a fixture.
Yeah. Because rose bushes, grapevines, all those kinds of things, without having, here's the thing, method of attachment, that's the first one. And I always say this, I say, is it nailed, screwed, or glued? I say, if you would take the property and it's a dollhouse and you would flip it upside down, would it move? Yeah, a microwave that just plugged into the wall would just tip over and kind of go somewhere, tumble around. So yeah, 100% that is the answer. Next one.
The sheet metal that is used to protect a building from water seepage is called gutter, flashing, sheeting, or filter. This is cool. I've never seen this question and I don't know the answer, so I'm going to guess. And if logic plays, I'm going to say gutter because I know what that is. So I'm going to pick gutter.
Sure. So I will show you what it is. It is flashing. So let me share my screen. I'm actually going to do a new share. I'll show you this photo. So this right here, this section right here that meets right up to the chimney, okay, that's flashing, okay? So the gutter is right along the edge of the roof, and what it does is the gutter catches the water, right, and it redirects the water away from the house. that metal sheeting, you'll actually see that also by door jambs and things like that. So I'm kind of giving you a little construction 101, because there will be like 2 or 3 basic construction questions on the test. And the flashing is that metal sheathing that prevents seepage. So right there, basically between the chimney and the roof, that is all flashing right there. So that is the answer to that. Learn something new every day. So
beautiful. No, that's awesome. I've never.
Next one.
I mean, I don't remember it.
Yeah, it's something that the construction ones are kind of, unless you're in it and involved in it, it's kind of hard. And also, if you never see it, it's one of those things. That's why I have like just a folder of, pictures that show what the construction terms are. So that's why I had that up there, and I was like, all right, I'll show you, flashing, so you can kind of see what it is. So let's. You
gotta be careful when you say I'm going to show you flashing, though, still.
Look at you with your humor. I like it.
All right.
Look at this one.
Which of the following best describes conversion? Adding personal funds into a business account, using funds from a client trust fund for personal use, using funds from a business account for personal use, or accepting and depositing money into a client's trust account. So the answer here, is rereading, would be, I know conversion, but B and C are looking similar to me. So let me read it. Conversion using funds from a client's trust account for personal use, using funds from a business account for personal use. More specific with B, using funds from a client's trust account for personal use.
Yeah. So conversion is embezzlement. Also, so the difference between commingling and conversion is, and I always tell people, I'm like, conversion is a little more insidious than that of whatchamacallit, commingling. Commingling could be innocent, where they're like, oh yeah, nope, just got the wrong deposit slip. Sorry about that. Like, yeah, and typically, if you write a letter to the real estate commission, you would basically be able to say, yeah, sure, not a problem, whatever the case may be. But that is the difference between conversion and commingling. So let's look at the next one.
Janice Riceland is shown a home by her agent, Richard. She makes an offer and gives Richard a check. At what point does her offer become an enforceable contract to buy? As soon as the seller receives the offer and the check, no. When the deposit check clears, no. As soon as Richard receives her offer and her check, no. And when Janice is notified the seller accepts the offer, ding, 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 D.
Okay, D. Yeah, 100%. Let me ask you this question, okay? When I have, when I make a counter offer, okay, after an offer has been made, what happens with the first offer? Is it still valid? Can I still go back to it?
Absolutely not.
Nope, can't do it. Perfect, excellent. Next one.
Which of the following is not essential to the creation of an agency relationship? A fiduciary relationship, competency of the principal, agreement to pay consideration, or consent of the principal. So here the answer is C, agreement to pay consideration.
Agreement to pay consideration. Yep, that is basically their kind of main objective, their main thing that they have to, that they have to do for a client would be that, right? That'll be it. Next one.
Appreciation would be best defined as increase of wealth over time, increase of money over time, an increase of land over time, and the increase of value over time. So the answer is D, increase of value.
Increase of value over time. Yeah, basically it's like saying, hey, property has increased or something has appreciated, right?
Yay.
That's yeah. yeah. I mean, that's like main goal that we're going for. Hey, something's appreciated. Yeah, we're doing good. We're doing the right thing. Next one.
3 friends were concurrent owners of a parcel of real estate. One of the friends died and his interest passed according to his will to become part of his estate. The deceased friend was a joint tenant, tenant in common, severalty owner, or tenant by entirety. So we're looking for it to be either joint tenancy or tenancy in common. And if they were concurrent owners, there's not enough info for me to know if they were joint tenants. So I'm going to say tenant in common.
There is enough information here for you to understand, whatchamacallit, that they were tenants in common. That they were tenants in common because as soon as it said that it passed according to his will, done. That's 100%.
All right.
Don't pass go, don't collect $200. They did not have rights of survivorship. So that is 1,000,000% the reason why it is that. It is not that there's necessarily not enough information, right? It's that the information given, it could never be joint tenancy. It could never be joint tenancy. Next one.
A non-possessory interest in real property is also called a leasehold estate, a license, an encumbrance, or a servient tenement. Non-possessory interest would be a license.
It would be.
And good. This is a little tricky for me.
So here's what I'm going to say. A leasehold estate, you have interest, you have the right to use, right? A license, you have the right to use, but it could be revoked. Okay. Now, the servient tenement, they have basically, they own the property, right? But it's being used by someone else. So this is totally tricky, but an encumbrance, it doesn't mean you can have a lien, whatever the case may be. There's not enough information there. It's kind of like one of those. It's one of those that there isn't enough information for you to say that it isn't an encumbrance. So that's the answer there.
Okay, cool. I like the tricky ones.
Yeah, they're good.
An agent who exclusively represents the buyer may present offers to the seller or to a seller's agent, may be retained but must be disclosed to the seller, may present offers to the seller only, or must deliver offers to the seller within 1 day. So an agent who exclusively represents the buyer may present offers to the seller or to the seller's agent. A.
Hey, let's take a look at that. Seems like a logical answer, right? So perfect. I'm glad that you got that one because that one was a little tricky the way it was worded. But it was good that you came to that right answer. So good stuff there.
All right. Broker Al, who is not a member of any trade organization, has been using a new advertising slogan, a new breed of realtor. Concerning this practice, it is acceptable as long as he is not licensed in more than 1 state. It is a violation of fair housing laws. It is grounds for revocation or suspension of his real estate license, or it is permissible providing the word realtor. And the best answer here is C.
Yeah, realtor is a registered trade name, and you cannot use that if you're not a member of the trade organization. You cannot use it. It's that simple. And it's totally optional for you to become a member of the trade organization. So that's an important thing too, because there's sometimes some questions around that. But understand it's totally optional to be a realtor. Like that's not something that you have to sit there and go, oh, I have to be a realtor. Okay.
Okay. A tenant signs a lease that stipulates that the lessee pays the property tax. This lease is probably a standard lease, sandwich lease, reverse lease, or net lease. And the answer is net lease. Got to pay those taxes.
Yeah. So when would we see a net lease? It seems like something that would be just really weird. Why would someone want to do this?
Maybe if someone is renting commercial space, like in a strip mall.
Sure, if they're renting commercial space in a strip mall, that would definitely be one reason, right? Okay. Let me see. What else would be another way? Like I'll tell you the most common ones. The most common ones are whatchamacallit, when you have a situation where you have like a Best Buy or a Target. They usually do net leases because what happens is it provides them, they don't have the downfall of having to own the property. Okay, they don't have the downfall of having to own the property, and bottom line is this: they also get the benefit of ownership. Like they get the benefit of saying, okay, you know, I get the benefit of having these tax write-offs, these other things. So that's why they basically do the net leases, because what happens is it's leasing, but you still get all the beautiful tax write-offs. So that's the answer there.
Yeah. Great explanation.
Yeah.
In a limited in a limited partnership, each limited partner is liable for no more than their investment. Investors may participate with only a small amount of capital, but with unlimited liability. All the partners participate in running the business, or the number of investors is limited to 10. It's been a minute here since I've dealt with this topic, so let me see what I can dig up or weed out. Limited partnership, for each limited partner is liable for no more than their investment. Pay a small amount of cap. It's not B, it's not C to my, I'm gonna go with A.
Yeah, that's definitely, and I don't think you're going to get a ton of like partnership questions on the test, if any. But it's good to know that. Like you logic it out perfect, and I don't have any issue with that. Let's keep going.
All right, my man. Let's see. In determining whether an item is a fixture, which of the following would not be considered? Adaptation to the real estate, method of attachment, intention of the parties when the fixture was installed, or value of the item. And we know this one, it ain't Maria, so it's value is the answer here.
Yeah, and some people usually like to, so here's the thing, the reason why they like, and this is a perfect example of a great question, because what happens is this, sometimes, and this is also a perfect example of a question that you would be asked, that you would be adding a lot of different things. You would be creating this story, okay, that just doesn't exist. So let me give you the example. Someone might say, oh, the prior owner, you know, the seller installed a $500,000 chandelier. Is it a fixture, right? And what happens is this is what you would sit there and say. You'd be like, well, there's no way that they intended to leave it there. There's no way that they, like, that's a unique relationship. And it's like, all it's telling you is the value. It's not telling you of a unique relationship or of the further intentions of that individual, you know? So that's why, like I said, it's a perfect example of something that, a question that you could see on the test that you could start adding and going down this rabbit hole of like, well, maybe they were really meaning, like, no, just ask. What I always say is this: treat the question as the question. That's it. Don't add any other stuff to it. Just
exactly.
Treat the question as a question.
So in that situation, just to be clear, if it says what you said, like they're trying to trick you by saying it's an expensive chandelier, but if Maria is not present in the question, then we can't fabricate that. So we don't know that anything any element
we
of
don't know that we don't know that there's a unique relationship or the intentions weren't there based on the information given, right? Like you may be able to, like they might word it differently where then it becomes clear that the intentions or the relationship of this item is unique.
Right.
However, the value of the item does not create a unique relationship, because I will tell you, there's a lot of things that I spend a lot of money on that I'm like, yeah, that doesn't really have a unique relationship to me. I just spent $1,400 on a hot water heater. You know, it doesn't have a unique relationship to me. No. You know, so value is not something that's going to be there. So that's why I want to go over that one. So let's look at this one.
Great. A woman has permission from her friend to hike on his property during the autumn months. Her friend has granted her, oh man, we got this one. It's a license.
Yep, 100%. It's revocable. And that's why I like going over a lot of these questions, because, you know, a lot of times you will see a lot of similar crossovers where they'll just give you a scenario. And once you understand the concept, that's why I always tell people all the time, understanding the concepts the way that you do understand them, and you have a very good grasp of them, helps you in answering questions like this. So yeah, that's a perfect 100% right answer. Beautiful. Passcode on collect $200.
A deed does not have to be recorded to transfer title. A deed gives actual notice of its contents when recorded. A deed will not give the grantee the usual protection of recording laws if it is a quitclaim deed, or a deed can only be recorded in one county. Now, why am I tripping up on this one? This should be pretty clear cut. But my answer is B, gives actual notice of its contents when recorded.
So what's the difference between actual and constructive notice?
I see. Good one. I got actual notice is when it's written down, and constructive is if
So let me help you. You ready?
Please. Yeah.
Actual notice is having direct knowledge. It doesn't have to be written down. Watch this. Okay. I say to you, I am a short, fat, bald man. Okay. You have actual notice that I am a short, fat, bald man. Okay. Now, if I go on to Twitter and I type in, I am a short, fat, bald man, and I make it public, that would be considered constructive notice of the fact that I am a short, fat, bald man. Because here's the thing, the average person wouldn't give two flying hootenannies about it, okay? The average person would probably be like, that's nice. However, if at some point, like let's say you were my doctor and you were controlling my diabetes medication, you might be interested in the fact that I am a short, fat, bald man, because you'd be like, are you eating Skittles at night? Like, are you doing these crazy things? Yeah, that's important to you. So same thing with the deed, and treat it as such. Constructive notice gives that notice to the general public. It's like basically putting it out on Twitter saying, I own this property. And the average person wouldn't really care. Like, it's not really interesting. But if you ever became interested in my property, it would become interesting to you all of a sudden. You'd be like, oh yeah, no. I definitely, I want to buy Stu's beach house. So I kind of want to know if he has title to it, right? So that's why it doesn't give actual notice, because actual is that direct notice, because then you would actually have to go and tell everyone in the world, hey, I have this deed. Hey, I have this deed. And it gives constructive notice, kind of like me putting it on Twitter, I am a short, fat, bald man. The average person really doesn't care. But if you did, you could inspect that. You could go and check that. So
got it.
Yeah, let's look at this one.
Avoidable contract is one which has no force or effect, is binding on neither party and not subject to ratification, but is still enforceable by a court of law. or avoidable contract is valid now but can be voided by one party to a contract for due cause, or it is subject to disciplinary action. The answer is C.
So what would make a contract voidable? What would do that?
Duress.
Duress would, yeah, sure. Is there anything else that would make a contract voidable?
Yes, I'm sure there are others. Let me think about that. Like,
I'll give you in California, I would say duress is like the main one. Duress, undue influence. So those are the ones that I would be really looking for. So I'm not going to dig any further. What would make a contract void though? That I do want to know.
Illegal, excuse me, illegal actions in the contract, like, or if someone's a minor.
So if there's like, so whenever there's illegality in California, yeah, you would have, contracts with minors fall under the legality portion of it. So basically it's whenever there's an illegal component or illegal aspects to it. So like I always say, if I said, hey, I want to, I want to sit here and I want to, I want you to move 5 pounds of heroin for me. That's illegal. Okay. Or if I wanted to purchase your home with 5 pounds of heroin, that is a legal contract with an illegal purpose, with an illegal component to it. So,
right.
Good stuff. Let's go to the next one.
The total collection of rights, which may be claimed by private ownership, is best described as, well, I know this one is the bundle of rights.
So, let me ask you this. When I lease a property to somebody, what portion of the bundle of rights am I giving them?
The right to enjoy.
It's more than, so I could say the right to, so what I usually say is
possess, possess.
Yeah, the right to possess, I really say the right to possess and use,
yes.
So enjoy is in use, yes. So I always say the right to possess and use, is what's transferred during a leasehold estate, because they have possessory rights. So that's why, did you see the question before where it was talking about what is a non-possessory interest?
Right.
Like that's why for me, I key in on a leasehold estate has the right to possess and use or enjoy, depending on how you remember the bundle of rights. So next one.
An applicant applies for a mortgage and the loan officer suggests that she might consider a term mortgage loan. Which of these statements best explains what the loan officer means? The length of the term is limited by the state law. The entire principal amount is due at the end of the term. The debt is partially amortized over the life of the loan, or all the interest is paid at the end of the term. I'm going to go with C. The debt is partially amortized over the life of the loan.
Okay. C. Partially amortized over the life of the loan. The entire principal amount is due at the end. So a term loan is basically like a straight note, like it's going to be one of those. And also like term loans are usually like, what was I going to say? Best way to remember them is kind of like the, if you ever see the Labor Day or weekend sales where, they're like, oh, 24 months interest, no interest financing, basically where you don't have to pay, where they're like, no minimum payments, no anything. You're like, okay, great. I don't have to pay anything for 24 months, right? So if you get a loan that says no minimum payments, no interest until whatever, basically what it is that's a term loan, right? That's a term loan because the whole amount will be due at the end, right?
Man,
if you don't pay it off sooner, right? So that is usually the situation there. So let's look at the next one.
That's great. I hadn't come across that, or I don't remember it, so it's great.
The more useless stuff you could fit in your head, the better. right? Like I said, I think you're doing really well, but like the more, like if you could fit more useless stuff in there, sure, why the heck not? Like that's
Exactly.
my motto. So
Rising mortgage rates are an example of functional obsolescence, no. Curable depreciation, no. External obsolescence or incurable depreciation. This question is unique. I know it's not functional obsolescence. It doesn't have to do with depreciation on either end, so I'm gonna go with external obsolescence, but I'm not sold on it, but I'm gonna go with it.
Great process of elimination. So here's the thing. Rising interest rates, you're right. You're like, I'm not really happy about that answer. And I could see why, right? Like it would be something that I would understand that logic 100%. What you really want to understand from this question is that anything external to the property that has an impact on the property itself, like the economy, guess what? COVID was a version of external obsolescence. That was 100% an example of that. It was an example of external obsolescence. It was a situation where, okay, yeah, we had to, things changed, things happened, so that was a situation that is 100% had an impact on, had an impact on the properties. However, it was something that was external to the property. It was external to the property itself. Now, what's functional obsolescence? Let me ask you that.
That's improper design of a building. So if there's a 1-car garage for a 10 room house, for example.
Yeah, basically it has to do with the function of the property. Like, I mean, that's it. Long and short of it has to do with the functionality, where it's depreciation based on that function. Okay, so 100% the answer. Next one.
The term reconciliation refers to which of the following? The process by which an appraiser determines the highest and best use for a parcel of land, the loss of value due to any cause, separating the value of the land from the total value of the property to compute depreciation, or analyzing and weighing the findings obtained by the different approaches to value to arrive at a final estimate of value. And the answer is D.
That one?
Yes.
So reconciliation is 100% that. And what happens in reconciliation, just so you know, and I always like to kind of go through this with people, is I like to make sure that you understand that the appraiser finds one value. They find a singular value for the property. They do not find, more than one values or a range. Because some people say that, they find a range. No, they do not find a range of value for the property. Okay, they find a singular value for the property, and they say, okay, this is what the value of that property is. Boom, done. There is no multiple values or something like that they're going to come up with. Okay, it's always going to be the one that they find one singular value. So, next one.
Which of the following statements regarding the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, or RESPA, is false? A closing disclosure must be given to the borrower at or before closing. That's true. So a home loan toolkit booklet must be provided to the purchaser by the lender. Yes. RESPA regulations cover all residential mortgages. Yes. And the lender must furnish a loan estimate of likely settlement charges within 3 days of the loan application. Which is false. Does it not cover all residential mortgages? I thought it does. I'm tripped up here. Let's see. Lender. I'm gonna have to guess on this one because I have blender brain right now. So something says C for me. I feel like it doesn't cover all residential mortgages.
Yeah, it doesn't cover all residential mortgages. And here's the nuts and bolts of why it doesn't cover all residential mortgages, because there are some mortgages that are not covered. Okay, there are some mortgages that are not covered. Okay, and some of those mortgages that are not covered are like secondary mortgages. Okay, like second home loans, things like that. Okay, those are not covered in RESPA. Okay, they're just not covered by RESPA. So that's really the nuts and bolts of like, hey, what's covered, what's not covered, that kind of stuff. Okay, so that is the long and short of the answer there. So, and RESPA also, can you tell me a little bit more about RESPA? Just give me a little, like, your version of RESPA. What is it?
It's designed to help purchasers understand the loan, or the loan process.
So yeah, it basically helps them understand, well, not the loan process so much, okay, not the loan process so much, okay, but it helps them understand, okay, helps them understand something else that's super important, okay. It helps them understand.
Sorry.
Yes, the closing costs, the settlement procedures, right? So the settlement costs, okay. So any of the settlement companies, so title company, stuff like that. And also it doesn't allow for kickbacks. So what is a kickback? What is a kickback?
A kickback would be if a lender or any organization pays someone to use their services.
Well, it's more necessarily someone who's referring them. So like a real estate agent, like I'll give you an example, okay? Like I am a huge hockey fan, okay? And many times what happens is this, a lot of people that I do business with know I'm a really big hockey fan. It's something that all over my car, and there's many times where a lender or an attorney or someone will call me up and say, hey, I happen to have, tickets to, the Islanders game tonight. Do you want to go? No, I can't. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That's a kickback. Okay.
Okay.
So it's basically anything like that, because here's what happens is it's to protect the consumer, so that if you're purchasing a home from me and I say, oh, you should really use Bob the home inspector, that you understand that I'm using Bob the home inspector because Bob's a good home inspector. Okay. Not because Bob gave me, box office tickets, I had box seats to a National Predator game, that kind of thing. So let's look at the next one.
A written summary of the history of all conveyances and legal proceedings affecting a specific parcel of real estate is called a certificate of title, title insurance policy, abstract of title, or affidavit of title. And the answer is abstract of title.
Abstract of title. Boom. Perfect. Next one.
The right of the government to take ownership of real property for public use is called eminent domain.
Yeah, they take that, they exercise eminent domain through what process? What's the process called?
Condemnation.
Condemnation. Perfect. So what's escheat?
That's when someone who dies intestate and their property after 5 years of being unclaimed goes back to the state.
Wow. All right. So I didn't get you on either of those, so let's keep going.
Keep trying. Keep trying. You guys are too good. Right? That's why I've been studying with you guys.
That's it. That's it. That's it. I love it. I love it. Let's look at this one.
A loss in value from any cause is a common definition of depreciation.
Depreciation. Yep. And we have our functional, our external obsolescence. So we have functional obsolescence, external, or economic obsolescence. And what's the third type of depreciation?
Physical deterioration, otherwise known as wear and tear.
Damn, wear and tear. Yeah, absolutely. So it is physical deterioration, also known as wear and tear. You got it. So next one.
May I
Nah,
may I ask
not going to do that. No math.
Oh, so
no
that
math.
actually, that's funny. That's why I was just going to ask really quick. When everybody says no math, but how much math means no math on the California exam? Like you just skipped over
You're
something
just going to have
numbers. Like what did
yes.
really there?
So here's what happens. You will have to know on California the government survey system. Okay. And basically what I would do is I would just take a look at knowing the government survey system, and that's it. That's the only, now I don't even call it math because it's not really math. Okay. It's just being able to know what the size of or what something would be located. It's kind of like, I call it quasi-convoluted math more than anything. So yeah, it's something that I really don't consider this math, even though this would be one of those that, you know, we'd have to take out a calculator, we'd have to figure out some things. That's why I said skip it.
Oh, wow.
But this would be the only thing in California you would have to worry about is the government survey system. If you know the government survey system, you know how to find a piece of property, then you're fine. There's nothing else you need to know. Okay.
Wow.
But other than that, there is no math. There's not going to be anything that you will need. So when they say no math, they mean no math. Okay.
Okay. That's cool
outside of government survey. So yeah. And once you figure it out, it's basically you just multiply the denominators is what it is. Like you could literally do it in your head. So it's such stupid math, and that's why I don't even go over it really. Let's look at this one and let's wrap it up. Let's see what this is.
The terms of some real estate loans provide that the interest rate may be increased or decreased depending on money market conditions. We call this type of loan a variable interest loan, a fluctuating market condition loan, an interim loan, or a loan which is secured by short-term land contract. And the answer is A, variable interest rate.
Yeah. Look, you're good. You're going to be, for your test, you're going to be A-okay. Not
Beautiful.
a problem, not a worry in my mind. As long as you're not like, this isn't just like all of a sudden you have a brain fart and everything kind of goes out of your head. But yeah, I'm not concerned one shred of an iota. Because, you know, knowing what you know, I'm really cool with how you answered everything, and I'm really good with saying, yeah, you get seal of approval from me. I'm not really concerned with anything that I've seen here. So I don't think you should be either. So keep doing what you're doing. You have a great grasp on the information. Do you have any other questions for me? Anything I didn't answer for you yet?
No, because we're cool, man. I'm gonna keep shedding, and maybe I'll do one more with you, just like the day or two before the exam. Just I'm good.
Book it sooner rather than later, because I do book up quickly. And what happens is when I book up, it tends to just be one of those things that it's just a lot of times you'll have. It'll be a tough time to schedule with me if you wait. So I always tell people, I'm like, I book at least 30 days in advance. So you should be good for any date that you're looking for. So just book it. And the other thing that I would tell you is this. I have one quick question for you, because I think that our session went phenomenally well, and your knowledge is really a good example of what you need to pass the test. So with your permission, of course, I would like to actually highlight this on the YouTube channel. So if that's okay with you, you give me the thumbs up, I'll do that. If not, I'm totally fine with that too. So you tell me.
Yeah, man. Virtual thumbs up and go for it. If it can help people, it's great.
Because I think that what really this is an example of, and look, testament to you is what I would like when people say what level of knowledge I need to help me pass the exam. I think that how you understood the questions and how you logic them out were all great, fantastic examples of, yeah, that's the knowledge level you should be at in order to help yourself pass the exam. You know, so that's why I wanted to. I was like, you do have a really strong grasp of that, so I do want to highlight that. So good on
Beautiful.
you. And I look forward to working with you again. Like I said, schedule it well in advance. And if you need anything else, just let me know. All right, buddy?
All right. Thanks so much, Stu. Have a great day.
Hey, you too. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.